Recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's ODTN use case call. As usual, the call is recorded and will be published on YouTube. I think I did not upload last week's one. I'll try to do it right away. So a few updates on my side, then we'll switch it over to the different people that are doing great work during this week. So on my side, I'm doing the creation of the TIP Summit demo video with the slides and the usual stuff that's in here. If anybody's interested, the base I'm going to be using is this one, and I'm going to be augmenting it with the slides that I have, and also with a voiceover. So, but if anybody's interested in taking a look at the base video, that's the one over there. We also submitted a proposal for OFC where we basically want to redo the same demo in a more formal environment, thanks to Jan Kundrak from CESNET. And we might take a look at extending it a little bit, maybe with a few UI, maybe giving it the choice to the user. So that's kind of the status there. The GMP integration, I'll talk about it later after a few bullet points. Next up is the bit error rate integration, and guys at Sterlite have done a great job with the patch. It's actually, I think it's ready to go. I gave it a +1, not yet merged because I want to give everybody the possibility to take a look at it. Chetan and Puneet, do you want to give an update on this?
Yeah, hi Andrea. So we have updated the comments that you gave, and I believe it's ready to now. You can again review it and merge it, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to describe it a little bit, bit error rate state is a new behavior that enables us to get prefec and postfec bit error rate. And the implementation we have, it's actually done in a way that mimics the consolidation that we're doing and we're going to talk about later. So we have the bit error rate for Cassini, which is just includes a method to describe the optical channel name. That's really about it, because we needed a specific name in there for the optical channel for Cassini. But the rest of it, which is this OpenConfig bit error rate state, is again an abstract class, and we'll see this pattern later with the consolidation of the drivers from the PLC guys at Kingston. And everything else in here, it's capable of getting and posting the FEC in a completely vendor agnostic way. That's really about it. Implementation is here. They've done a great work in including also a web resource, meaning REST API. What we'll probably look at doing is also including it in the CLI and the UI in the upcoming days. That's really about it. I don't see any other major stuff. I looked it over today. I give it a +1. If anybody has any other comments, please put them in. Otherwise, in a few days, I'll merge it so we can actually go forward and work on setting the forward error correction capabilities and integrating this in the UI and in the CLI too. So that would be great. That would be a great addition, great addition to have. Thanks, Chetan and Puneet. You guys have anything else to say about this?
No, Andrea. Good as of now.
Okay, thanks. Yet again, as one of the next steps, if you guys are interested, we can discuss how to integrate it in the UI. Either the UI of probably the UI of the ports is going to be the best one here because it's related to a port. So we're probably going to look at add another column on the optical UI to do this. If you guys want to do it, I'm going to be happy. I'll create a ticket and I'll let you discuss if you want to do it or not.
probably we can discuss maybe in detail about that, how we will use this FEC further. So maybe in the GNPY integration, right, we'll understand how we will calculate the OSNR, and we'll effectively use this FEC and the BR for those calculations. So definitely we'll discuss maybe in detail about that, and we'll look into it, how we'll integrate with that GNPY logics and all, right?
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Thank you, guys. So this is good. This is great work. I encourage everybody to take a look at this and see if it works for their transponder. So if you can, just implement the OpenConfig bit error rate state with your class that just provides the optical channel name that it's used to set the optical channel on a given port, and see if you can retrieve to OpenConfig the bit error rate, and that will be adding a capability to your device. So that's great. So thanks for that. On another note, there's another great patch that the guys at PLC Network are doing a great job with, the flow rule programmable consolidation. We went a little bit back and forth on this, but now it's in a pretty good shape. They have another patch that they need to upload, I think, after a few comments that we made. But the idea here is, again, to consolidate those drivers, providing an abstract class, which is this one. But I'll let Kingston, since he's on the call, to explain, because he can do a better job than me, since him and his team have done the work. So Kingston, if you want, just feel free to unmute and comment on this. Otherwise, I can give a rough explanation on what it is. Okay. I think Kingston might have some problems unmuting. So the idea is that we have this abstract class, which is the terminal device flow programmable, that includes all the methods for to achieve the set, get, and remove of the flow rules based on what they receive from the northbound, except for one method, which is the set optical channel frequency. And this set optical channel frequency is actually included in the different behavior classes that are on a per device basis. Why that is done? Because there are small differences in the implementation that yield a little different need for implementation. For example, in this case, ADVA has this config tag that if you take a look at the Cassini one, it does not have. Just has a name, and the optical channel, the way it's got here, and the ADVA is different from the way Nokia builds it, which is this. So basically, what we did was that we reused like 95%, 99% of the code in this class, because everything else is the same, apart from that to set optical channel, and that is an abstract method that's going to be implemented. I plan to do the same on the Groove patch that I have upstream. I'm still discussing with the Infinera people if I should be the one merging it or they should be the one merging it, but I want to get it in because it's sitting there since September, so it's working. It's just that I would like the Infinera people to contribute it, but if they can't for some reason, I have it, I'll do it, and then they can comment on it and work on it. So I think this is great work. It's very good. We are putting in a little bit more work because we were changing the behavior a little bit of that terminal device flow programmable in this exact patch set. So there's an upcoming one from the guys at PLC Networks that are putting in the work to do this. So I think this is a great first step, and it actually shows how much code we were duplicating. So if you just take a look at here, we were duplicating like hundreds of lines of code. And I think this is very good work. It's very valuable, and it will show how it will make the code base much leaner, and it will make it much better to understand and to work upon. So thanks a lot for the guys at PLC Network for doing this. Much appreciated. And Kingston, at any time, feel free to jump in if you have anything more to say about this. So I encourage everybody to take a look. I would ask the Nokia people, Sterlite with the Cassinis, and the Adva folks to test once the patch is the final one. Once you see the +1 from me, you'll get an email, and I'll ask everybody to test this patch on top of the current master. I'll send out instructions to make sure that we're not breaking any functionality. I do not think we are, because this is pretty good work. And I think it doesn't change the behavior actually, but because it just moves the code around. But I want to make sure everybody tests it before I go ahead and merge it. So when the patch is final, I'll send out an email with instruction on how to test it, and so people can test it. Would that be okay? Would that be okay? Puneet, if you could do it for the Cassini, that would be good.
Sure, Andrea, we'll do that. Just
Okay.
let us know when will be completed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send out an email, and
Sure.
and Dominique and Ivan, I think you're together. If you could do it for the Nokia one, that would be also very cool. I'll send an email to Jakub from Adva to make sure that they can do it. Would that be okay, Dom?
Okay,
Ivan?
we will do it.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sure, we will do it.
Thanks, much appreciated. Okay, good. Next up, my GMPY integration. Okay, so I've updated the patch with a few minor changes since last week. I think the only thing that is missing is currently documentation on what this does. I'll add a README somewhere in the docs, either today or tomorrow, on exactly how the integration is done. I'll probably add it where the other documentation is, which is the ODTN simulators. I don't particularly like the location, but everything was put in there, and I'll just add in there other information. So now this has complete functionality. Has some unit tests and has some Java doc. It's a lot better. So if you guys are interested, just go take a look at it. It's here. I'll ask Jan to review the latest version of it. He has some very good comments here about the different picks that we can do and the different way of switching paths and using a lot more information that ONOS has. They're very good points. I think that since this patch is really pretty big, I don't want to overblow it. I'm just going to put this in and then have a few tasks in Jira for all these things that he discusses, so everybody can actually pick it up and do it on his time whenever he wants, and it can be contributed by anybody who wants. It's kind of the state here. I'll just ask Jan to review it, and I'll go ahead and merge it whenever he's done. Okay. On follow-up note, on the check-like Rodum drivers. So I think Jan is in the process of completing them. Obviously, there was a big push for him to get it down for Tip Summit, and now he's doing some backlog that was left over. So I think that there are a couple of comments from myself in these drivers, and whenever he addresses them, I'll make sure, and whenever he also addresses the Jenkins problem, I'll make sure to put them in so we have another set of drivers to test against. I think this is pretty good, and was a great contribution. I don't think there are any major comments apart from the ones I have in here. But if anybody wants to put comments on, just feel free to do it. Okay. Any questions so far? Anything I'm missing? No. Okay. So next up, there's a few patches from Ivan at Nokia. He's doing some great work, and some of the bug fixes that he's coming up with are getting immediately put in upstream. So, Ivan, do you want to discuss about these two? We cannot.
Okay.
Now
Where you want to start from?
let's start with the one that it's actually merged already. So this one for the flow rule manager.
Okay, this is a pretty simple patch, basically adding 2 lines of the code to the ONOS core. So ONOS right now is able to import external flow rules installed on the device. Before it was not able to do this, and you need to manually set flags to enable this functionality. Right now, it's actually the same way, but thanks to the Andrea, we consolidated that it's actually good to let the user decide if he does want to import these rules or not. And this was basically done. As you can see, there is just 2 lines were added, not so much.
Okay, so just to make sure everybody gets what the concept is, before ONOS had the capability to behave in one of two ways. If there was not this flag set, it would basically remove the flows that the device had, the flows or the configuration in general that the device had, because it assumes it to be the master of the configuration. So it says, okay, I don't trust you. You have this, just remove it. Then, a long time ago, it was added this possibility to leave the device as is, but without importing his configuration to the flows inside ONOS. So then, working with Ivan, we understood how, and working with everybody here, we understood really how important it was to import existing possible channels that were already configured on a device. And since we do channels through flows in ODTN, we just said, okay, if you set both these rules, meaning you allow them and you also want to import them, what ONOS does is that upon receiving that initial connection, upon making that initial request for the rules, it adds it to the zone store. Why is this beneficial? I think this is beneficial because it enables us to take into account pre-provisioned end-to-end paths that were not managed by ONOS. Because let's say we deploy ONOS on a pre-existing network, we wouldn't want to kill those services. We want maybe to modify them in the future, so we bring them in, and you could then ask the device to just remove that service or that connection or cross connection for the ROADM or configuration for the client side or for the line side of the transponders. So I think it's a much better, fine-grained approach that enables us to do interesting stuff. This is already merged in 2.3. I don't think we're going to backport it to 2.2, but it's there. So thanks, Ivan, for this one. On another note, any update on this one?
There is not so much to report. This week I was busy working on internal projects. I did some. I did implement some of the commands which we were discussing about and tested them. They're working fine on Nokia's equipment. And as I said, once I will get in touch to this to the rest of the commands and implement and test them, I will upload it to the Garrett. It will be in next 2 weeks.
Okay. Thanks. That's great contribution. Thanks a lot for it. Okay, so that's good. And I think my comments here are just mostly cosmetic, so that's pretty good. I think it's actually very good. So next up, I think we have alarms. Why did I put this on here? It was here last time, but I have a clearer picture. So basically, we even with the Cassini, there's a possibility of doing a second testing in Peru with more parameters, more stuff. The hardware is actually still there. And one of the things that came up immediately when the discussion was done with Telefonica de Peru was how do we treat alarms? So ONOS has already the capability to store inside alarms and distribute them in distributed store, meaning it's fully reliable for HA, and also parse them according to a behavior. So thanks to Ivan, we actually know that this works because he has tried it on his equipment, and he was actually capable of seeing alarms and translating them from the proprietary standard in from the proprietary Yang model to the ONOS version of the alarms. So there is currently a behavior which is called alarm config.java. The purpose of this behavior is really the method which is called translate alarms. What this does is that it receives this method is called when netconf notifications arrive on the thread. So when a netconf notification arrives on the thread, the netconf thread which is listening on the SSH connection, it gets basically fed into this method. And this method gives out alarm.java class. So, and this is actually already consumable on the alarm GUI. So if you go in ONOS, I don't have an ONOS running here, but if you go in ONOS on the top left and open up the menu, there is an alarm GUI which shows all the alarms listed for a certain device. So I've also talked with Sean to put back in the dot red icons on the devices in the topology view. So this was a feature that was there a long time ago on GUI 1, and it worked for the most part. It was basically showing a red button on top of the device with a number in it. And that number was the number of alarms that that device had that were not cleared and that were of a certain importance. So I've discussed with Sean. I've asked him to put this back in. He doesn't think that it's too tricky, and he doesn't think it's gonna take a lot, but it's a nice addition. So what I'll ask everybody to do is then to go ahead and implement that alarm config behavior for your transponder, devices, whatever you want, in order to let ONOS be capable of receiving those alarms. There is one thing that I forgot, is that to enable retrieval, you also need to do a start subscription. And thanks, Ivan, for reminding that. Is that correct?
Yes, more or less, I guess. I don't remember properly, to be honest.
But the idea is that you call this method start subscription on your device session. And what happens is that basically, if you have the interleave capability enabled, you receive alarms there, and those are the alarms that are fed into that alarm config behavior with the translate alarm method, and that's already done. So my suggestion is to do what Ivan did and call the start subscription method in the device description discovery behavior. Either in the what my thought is to actually call it at the end of the device at the end of the description discovery method, not the ports discovery. Because you could have maybe some alarms that could impede you to discover the ports, but you could want to discover those alarms nonetheless. Does that make sense, Ivan? Does that properly translate what you're seeing in ONOS?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. And so what I would suggest is that since this is going to be, I think, one of the forward directions of the project, is to that you could go ahead and implement this in any transponder. And I think we're gonna maybe have a demo of some sort at a certain point later in time with this. Okay. Any questions on these alarms and on this stuff? No? Okay, so as I said, I'll just simply ask everybody who has a driver in ONOS to implement this class, and I'll put together a small document with a suggestion on how to do it. Fairly simple. I plan to do a document with the bit error rate and the alarms, meaning that this is kind of our next step for every driver that is in the code base, in order for us to next demo to be capable of doing this across all our devices that we know and that we have a driver for. Okay. And this can be done actually for any type of device, not just the netconf devices. We also have this capability for the SNMP, and I would have to check for the REST/RESTconf, because it would be interesting also to gather these alarms also from the line system. So that would be interesting. I'm gonna put a note to myself. It might not be the notification-based set of alarms, but there is also another alarm behavior in ONOS that is a polling-based. So we have an alarm provider that does a poll. If there is a certain behavior, I forgot the name of it, but it might be that we do it this way for REST devices. Okay, still targeting the January 1st, 2020 release. But since almost 2.3, that it's this one that's coming out is not going to be an LTS, I'm wondering if I need to postpone this to 2.4 to give us some time to finish up this stuff and have a ODTN 1.0 release on an LTS version. I might consider that. I need to discuss this with Thomas and the other folks at ONOS TST and see what they think. If 2.4 is going to be an LTS, since it's kind of what we're going for, basically one every two might be an LTS. Could do it on 2.4, or we could have to backport a few things on 2.2 and have a release in there, or just simply tag a branch on the ONOS tree and just call it an ODTN 1.0 release at a certain given point. I'll discuss with the folks at the ONOS TST, which is tomorrow, and I encourage everybody to participate if you guys are interested. And I'll make sure we have that so we can basically produce not just the code base, but also produce a Docker image that we know works with everything that we have in here, and all of that. Okay, I think that was all for the agenda of today. Is there anybody has any other questions or thoughts about this? No? Okay, then if not, thanks everybody for joining. I'll upload the recording and I'll work on the video for the demo. Please make sure to take a look at the reviews that are being done on your patches and or review everybody's patches. and I'll make sure to send out a document to explain how to do the integration of the bit error rate and how to do integration of alarms. So anybody who is interested can do it in their drivers. I'm going to also send out an email when the driver consolidation for the flow programmable is done and ask everybody to test it. So that's kind of what it sums up for this week and the upcoming week. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
By the way, Andrea, just a quick question.
Oh, hey, Ron, yes?
So, there's any, demo proposal for OFC?
So that is a very good question. There is a proposal with the GMP demo that we did. I personally don't have a plan to submit for OFC also because the deadline was last week and I did not submit. I did not submit because I really don't have the time to create the paper, polish it, and just do it. I did not have the time. We could, I would be very happy to discuss the possibility of having an ODTN demo at any of your company's booth, meaning one, if you guys are interested to have an ODTN demo based on your software at the OFC booth of Nokia, we can most likely surely discuss. If Adva or Sterlite or Juniper or anybody want to do it at their booth, I'm very happy to support the demo. But there's not going to be an ONF booth. There might be a tip booth where we could have something live, but I have not discussed this with Samantha or Diego yet. So, long story short, there is no plan for an official demo, but if anybody's interested, I'm going to be happy to support.
Okay, thanks. Okay, yeah.
Actually, let me put that in the agenda for next time. So, again, if anybody's interested, reach out. Feel free to reach out, and we can discuss how we can do it and what we can do. So, I think it's interesting. If you guys want to put a demo of ODTN in your booth based on the great work that everybody here has done, more than happy to. If not, it's still okay, and I'll discuss maybe with Tip Summit, with Tip, what either to put it also in their booth. Make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else, guys, you want to discuss?
Yeah, Andrea, with respect to alarms.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you say the start subscription, so would it be a part of the device discovery itself? In the device description itself, you have to send the start subscription, or would it be done explicitly via CLI or some other way?
So at the moment, I do not believe that there is an automated way of doing a CLI way of doing it, meaning that you would have to put this session.start subscription in your implementation. We could definitely look at doing a very simple command that accepts a device ID and starts the subscription. There might actually be one. What I can do is that I can also check if there is an alarm to start device subscription.
I mean, I was asking more of like, what is the best practice for it? Is it the start subscription explicitly via REST or CLI, or is it to start the subscription as soon as you discover the device description?
My preference would obviously be that we start it as soon as possible, as early as possible, meaning when the device actually connects. So doing it in the driver is, I think, I think the best. But maybe for debugging purposes, it could be interesting to have the CLI command. There might actually
So
be.
with the intervention itself, it is better without user intervention, that you don't, as soon as you discover the device, you are starting the alarm, starting the alarm subscription. And so,
Yeah, that would be my preference. Yes.
okay.
Let's see. Yeah, there is a command. So this command, which is called netconf subscription test, very interesting, which passes a device ID in there and starts a subscription. If you pass a dash end, it ends the subscription on that device. So this can easily be done, can easily be used for testing. I'm just gonna copy this in the document. But my preference would be to do it with no user intervention, meaning just put it in the code somewhere in the device description discovery, and just go about your business. And it's gonna push the alarms to ONOS, and ONOS is gonna push them in the UI, push them in the store, in the REST APIs and stuff like this.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys want to
Thanks.
test this, I think most of it is going to be ready. You need an implementation of that behavior for the Cassini, I guess you have.
Okay.
Okay. And if you run into any issues, just let me know. I'll make sure that that we get over it. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam.
No problem. Also, now that I remember on alarms, there was an issue where the cleared alarm would actually create a new alarm because there was an equals method that was not properly done, I think. So, Ivan, were you capable of fixing that with the doing not doing that check, that equals check?
I didn't test it yet.
Okay, I see. Can I ask if that works? Do you mind pushing up that fix?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
I said if that works in the sense that you're capable of clearing an alarm without creating a new one, do you mind pushing up that fix to the upstream master branch?
Nope.
Okay, thanks. Then when you test it, let me know and we'll see how to proceed further. Okay, thanks. Any other comments, thoughts, guys? Anything you want to discuss? No? Okay. Then thanks everybody. I'll upload the record and work on the stuff that we need to do this week. And if anything arises, shoot me an email, write on the mailing list or Slack. That's perfectly fine. And see everybody next week. Thanks. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.